Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins in an empty warehouse. A man wakes up without any memory of who he is. Because he's wearing jean jacket, we'll call him Jean Jacket. He discovers others in the warehouse, a man tied to a chair, bound man, another with handcuffs, handcuffed man, and someone with a broken nose. Despite being unconscious, all of them are alive. Jean Jacket, realizing the situation, tries to leave, but finds the door locked with a secret code. He looks outside and sees that it's a deserted area. To make sense of things, he goes to the bathroom, where he doesn't recognize himself in the mirror. Suddenly, a phone rings outside. Answering it, he's warned not to leave, because they are on their way. The caller hangs up before he can ask any questions. In the warehouse, he notices more chairs and a rope, suggesting that more people were tied up before. The scene shifts to a station, introducing Eliza, who, under detective orders, places a bag of money in a locker. Eliza's husband, William, has been kidnapped, and she's trying to catch the person demanding the money for his release. Back to Jean Jacket, bound man regains consciousness but is also without any memory. He asks Jean Jacket to untie him. As Jean Jacket moves to do so, a man in a rancher shirt intervenes, saying they're all free and untying bound man could be dangerous. Rancher shirt also has no memory of himself or his past. Now Rancher shirt and Jean Jacket contemplate how to escape from the warehouse. As handcuffed man regains consciousness, he finds himself hanging above, also with no memory. Rancher shirt and Jean Jacket search for the key to free him, but it's nowhere to be found. They turn their attention to Broken Nose, hoping he might have the key. While searching, Broken Nose suddenly wakes up and attacks them. Jean Jacket manages to subdue him, and calms everyone down. He suggests searching Broken Nose's pockets for the handcuff key. However, Broken Nose, like the others, has no memory of how they got there or who they are. Rancher shirt notices an open gas tanker nearby, and speculates that the gas might be responsible for their memory loss. He tells Jean Jacket that their priority should be finding a way out of the situation they're in. Detective Anderson is monitoring the locker where Eliza placed the money. A janitor standing nearby catches his attention, revealing that someone paid him $20 to stand there. When Anderson opens the locker, he discovers the money is missing, suggesting someone drilled into it and took the bag from the basement. Anderson rushes to the basement and encounters a man wearing unusual shoes, carrying a bag. Before Anderson can apprehend him, the man escapes, but the detectives have placed a tracker in the bag, helping them trace his location. Following the tracker, Anderson and his team locate the place where William is being held. As they close in on the man, they are perplexed as to how he managed to escape, given that the surroundings appear completely deserted. The mystery deepens as they try to figure out the man's escape route. Rancher shirt turns to Jean Jacket and asks if he remembers anything, since he was the first to wake up. Jean Jacket recounts what he saw. Hanging above, the handcuffed man questions Rancher shirt about the phone call he took upon regaining consciousness. Jean Jacket explains that the caller mentioned they would meet soon, and he may have forgotten to mention it earlier. Broken Nose becomes suspicious of Jean Jacket, but uncertainty about alliances and motives prevails. One of them decides to call the police to get out of the situation, but Rancher shirt disconnects the phone, urging them to investigate first. They discover the lifeless body of a security guard, with a company logo on his back. Rancher shirt suggests they refrain from calling the police immediately, as none of them remembers anything, and reporting the incident might lead to their entanglement. They face a dilemma about whether to involve the authorities or navigate the situation on their own. With the realization that the guards are locked up and they are free, it appears that the three of them are accomplices. They come across a newspaper dated today, revealing that the car of wealthy businessman William and his advisor Richard was found in the parking area of a company, on the previous Sunday. This suggests that the kidnapping occurred at this location. The company's logo matches the one on the security guard's uniform, indicating a connection. This leaves the possibility that, among the 5 people, 2 of them might be Richard and William. With this information, they intensify their efforts to escape, as the news indicates they have been in the location for 2 days. In a surprising turn, Broken Nose suddenly remembers that he is in fact Richard, kidnapped alongside William, who is Rancher shirt. The unfolding of their identities adds to the mystery as they continue their efforts to break free. As bound man attempts to reach for the gun, Jean Jacket grabs it, sensing potential danger. They decide to work together to take the gun from Jean Jacket, suspecting him to be a kidnapper. Despite Rancher shirt's hesitation, both of them attack Jean Jacket. In response, Jean Jacket points the gun at them, and Rancher shirt uses the gun's butt to signal to Jean Jacket that Broken Nose has regained his memory. Jean Jacket, showing reluctance, expresses his unwillingness to take anyone's life or be involved in criminal activities. In response, Broken Nose and Rancher Shirt ask Jean Jacket to promise not to harm them, and he agrees. Just as they make this agreement, Detective Anderson observes that the tracker's signal is suddenly lost. As they plan their escape, another call comes in. The caller informs Jean Jacket that they will arrive by evening, since the money has been found. This indicates that the kidnappers are on their way, and they need to leave before their arrival. Rancher Shirt notices a light coming from above, suggesting an exit, but it's at a considerable height. Working together, Rancher Shirt and Jean Jacket manage to lift Broken Nose to the top using a rope. From there, they can see outside, but the exit is covered by thick, sturdy glass. Breaking the glass without a gun proves challenging. Broken Nose requests the gun from Jean Jacket, who now hesitates to trust him. Jean Jacket decides to go up alone and fire the gun to break the glass. Broken Nose and Rancher Shirt help lift him. However, when Jean Jacket fires the gun, he loses balance and falls down. As he attempts to break the glass, he suddenly recalls that he is one of the kidnappers. Unable to reveal this to anyone, he leaves the gun behind without breaking the glass. Broken Nose seizes this opportunity to share his revelation with Jean Jacket. However, Rancher Shirt supports Jean Jacket and begins dressing his wounds. Broken Nose, angered by this support, decides to untie Bound Man. Rancher Shirt, thinking he is William and supporting Jean Jacket as Richard, remains unaware of the true dynamics. Bound Man, feeling betrayed, attacks Jean Jacket for not freeing him earlier. Rancher Shirt intervenes to subdue Bound Man. In the midst of this, Handcuffed Man shares a personal memory with Jean Jacket, expressing a sense of familiarity. Jean Jacket denies any connection, leading to the Handcuffed Man's death from his wounds. With the evening approaching and the kidnappers expected, Broken Nose and Bound Man secure the gun. Spotting a child and his father outside, they try to call them for help, but the duo runs away upon hearing their voices. Facing challenges in their escape plan, the group decides to ambush anyone entering through the door and make a run for it. Meanwhile, Senior Detective instructs Anderson to go with his partner to a warehouse, where a man and his son provided information about the possible presence of Richard and William. There's also an undercover officer in the mix, whose status is uncertain. Given this information, Anderson heads to the warehouse with his partner. Simultaneously, the man with snakeskin boots, who had eluded the detective and escaped with the money, arrives at the warehouse. The snakeskin boots man is present when someone enters the warehouse. Bound Man stands by him, but upon noticing a wound on snakeskin boots' hand, Bound Man recalls that he is associated with the kidnappers. The boy carrying a drum approaches Jean Jacket, who recognizes Broken Nose and intervenes to save him. As darkness descends, Snakeskin Boots and his men start firing bullets in a hurry. Unfortunately, Bound Man is hit and killed. To protect himself and his friends, Jean Jacket takes them hostage at gunpoint, surprising Broken Nose and Rancher Shirt. Snakeskin Boots separates Jean Jacket, and informs him that they have been working together for the past 8 months. He criticizes Jean Jacket for not handling things inside well, and instructs him to quickly kill Broken Nose and Rancher Shirt, emphasizing that they have the money and need to leave promptly. In a sudden realization, Jean Jacket remembers being a part of Snakeskin Boots' gang for the past 8 months. They had kidnapped William and Richard, but last night, William managed to escape. Jean Jacket had tied Bound Man to a chair, and then released Richard. In the process, Handcuffed Man and Jean Jacket witnessed the confrontation between William and Jean Jacket, and Richard and Handcuffed Man. During the fight, the structure above them collapsed, causing gas to leak. In the midst of the chaos, Richard managed to shoot the handcuffs off the Handcuffed Man with a gun. As the gas spread, William struggled with Jean Jacket, and Richard subdued Handcuffed Man with a pipe. Before he could assist William, everyone succumbed to the gas, leaving only Jean Jacket, Broken Nose, and Rancher Shirt conscious. Now, Snakeskin Boots instructs them to take William and Richard to a pit, and kill them. In a tense moment, William pleads with Jean Jacket, saying he can't go through with killing him. Jean Jacket responds, explaining that if he doesn't kill William, Snakeskin Boots will kill him. With a heavy heart, Jean Jacket shoots William. However, when Snakeskin Boots inspects the grave pit, he doesn't find any body. William doesn't reveal Jean Jacket's true identity to Snakeskin Boots, instead suggesting that Jean Jacket has proven his loyalty. Unbeknownst to Snakeskin Boots, Jean Jacket is an undercover detective, having taken on the role after the tragic death of his daughter. Before Snakeskin Boots can execute Jean Jacket, Richard emerges and intervenes. In the ensuing struggle, Snakeskin Boots shoots and kills Richard. As he prepares to kill Jean Jacket, William shoots him from behind, eliminating the threat. In the aftermath, Anderson and the police arrive at the scene. William expresses gratitude to Jean Jacket. Eliza, William's wife, arrives, triggering Jean Jacket's memory of having an affair with her. It becomes clear that Eliza orchestrated the kidnapping to eliminate her husband and inherit his wealth, hoping to lead a happy life with Jean Jacket, who had hired snakeskin boots to carry out the kidnapping, intending to target only William and not Richard. Then William introduces Eliza to Jean Jacket. Jean Jacket reflects on the consequences of his past decisions, and the internal conflict between his true nature and the criminal actions he was manipulated into. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.